welcome to Myers ASMR. How are you? Are you relaxed? Shake that mess off. And that stress off. It was not personal. Hey, you would not want it if it was not possible to get it. Yeah. Think on these words. You would not want it if it wasn't possible to get it. Well, look what I wanted and look what I got. Some chicken and kale. Made it myself from scratchity, scratch. Not like it was hard. You just boil some kale, right? So good, so good. I taste the olive oil that I put on afterwards. So freaking good. It's just salt, red pepper, and olive oil, baby. Kept it simple. After I drain the water, maybe it takes about 10 minutes or so to get it soft. If you cook it too long, it'll get less vibrant green, which is not what you want. Yeah, so I drained the water when it was done cooking and just sprinkled a little olive oil and stirred it up. Let me try my chicken. I'm very particular about how I eat my chicken because I have to avoid all the veins and the fat. I can't stand the taste of that stuff. It's quite lemony. sure I'm getting the right parts. Yep, I can see the fat. This is a boneless chicken thigh. It's a lot easier to eat boneless on video. So what's up with all these YouTube channels that are popping up all of a sudden about how hard it is to be a pretty girl and all the jealousy and the hate that they get. So basically their channels are all about that, like especially if they're mixed. If they're mixed with black, but they don't consider themselves fully black because they're not. You know, they're like biracial or light skinned, or some of them call themselves exoticals. And most of their channels are faceless, and you just hear a voice. And they're talking about what they went through being so gorgeous and so exotic looking and mixed. But yet they're not showing their faces. So I guess we just have to assume that you're beautiful and mixed and you know what you're talking about, right? I don't know. I mean, it's weird. Those videos started popping up on my homepage, so hey, of course I'm gonna watch it. If somebody's talking about beautiful women can't work a 9 to 5. Beautiful women have to get rich so they can distance themselves from certain elements. And then a lot of them claim that women who look like me, you know, not mixed, cause them a lot of problems because of jealousy and hate. I'm sure that has been their experience. Otherwise, why would they make that up? It's interesting. It's sad. But I do get it. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm clueless. I'm not. I'm not clueless. was super good. And just enough. Well, now it's time for the next fun part. Let's see where we left off with the Great Gatsby. You know, I've never had a book. Just every page I turn, the page becomes completely unglued. And I tried gluing it back, but it didn't work. The young Greek, Michaelis, who ran the coffee joint beside the ash heaps, was the principal witness at the inquest. He had slept through the heat until after 5 when he strolled over to the garage and found George Wilson sick in his office. Really sick, pale as his own pale hair and shaking all over. Michaelis advised him to go to bed, but Wilson refused, saying that he'd miss a lot of business if he did. While his neighbor was trying to persuade him, a violent racket broke out overhead. "I've got my wife locked up in there," explained Wilson calmly. "She's going to stay there till the day after tomorrow, and then we're going to move away." Michaelis was astonished. They had been neighbors for 4 years, and Wilson had never seemed faintly capable of such a statement. Generally, he was one of these worn-out men. When he wasn't working, he sat on a chair in the doorway and stared at the people and the cars that passed along the road. When anyone spoke to him, he invariably laughed in an agreeable, colorless way. He was his wife's man and not his own. So naturally, Michaelis tried to find out what had happened, but Wilson wouldn't say a word. Instead, he began to throw curious, suspicious glances at his visitor and asked him what he'd been doing at certain times on certain days. Just as the latter was getting uneasy, some workmen came past the door bound for his restaurant, and Michaelis took the opportunity to get away, intending to come back later, but he didn't. He supposed he forgot to, that's all. When he came outside again a little after 7, he was reminded of the conversation because he heard Mrs. Wilson's voice, loud and scolding downstairs in the garage. "Beat me," he heard her cry. "Throw me down and beat me, you dirty little coward." A moment later, she rushed out into the dusk, waving her hands and shouting before he could move from his door. The business was over. The death car, as the newspapers called it, didn't stop. It came out of the gathering darkness, wavered tragically for a moment, and then disappeared around the next bend. Michaelis wasn't even sure of its color. He told the first policeman that it was light green. The other car, the one going toward New York, came to a rest 100 yards beyond, and its driver hurried back to where Myrtle Wilson, her life violently extinguished, knelt in the road and mingled her thick dark blood with the dust. Michaelis and this man reached her first, but when they had torn open her shirtwaist, still damp with perspiration, they saw that her left breast was swinging loose like a flap, and there was no need to listen for the heart beneath. The mouth was wide open and ripped at the corners, as though she had choked a little in giving up the tremendous vitality she had stored so long. We saw the 3 or 4 automobiles in the crowd when we were still some distance away. "Wreck," said Tom. "That's good. Wilson'll have a little business at last." He slowed down, but still without any intention of stopping until, as we came nearer, the hushed, intent faces of the people at the garage door made him automatically put on the brakes. "We'll take a look," he said doubtfully. "Just a look." I became aware now of a hollow wailing sound which issued incessantly from the garage. A sound which, as we got out of the coupe and walked toward the door, resolved itself into the words, "Oh my God," uttered over and over in a gasping moan. "There's some trouble here," said Tom excitedly. He reached up on tiptoes and peered over a circle of heads in the garage, which was lit only by a yellow light in a swinging wire basket overhead. Then he made a harsh sound in his throat, and with a violent thrusting movement of his powerful arms, pushed his way through. The circle closed up again in a running murmur of expostulation. It was a minute before I could see anything at all. Then new arrivals disarranged the line, and Jordan and I were pushed suddenly inside. Myrtle Wilson's body, wrapped in a blanket and then in another blanket, as though she suffered from a chill in the hot night, lay on a work table by the wall, and Tom, with his back to us, was bending over it motionless. Next to him stood a motorcycle policeman taking down names with much sweat and correction in a little book. At first I couldn't find the source of the high groaning words that echoed clamorously through the bare garage. Then I saw Wilson standing on the raised threshold of his office, swaying back and forth and holding to the doorpost with both hands. Some man was talking to him in a low voice and attempting from time to time to lay a hand on his shoulder, but Wilson neither heard nor saw. His eyes would drop slowly from the swinging light to the laden table by the wall and then jerk back to the light again. He gave out incessantly his high, horrible call. "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" Presently, Tom lifted his head with a jerk, and after staring around the garage with glazed eyes, addressed a mumbled, incoherent remark to the policeman. "M-A-V," the policeman was saying. "Oh, no, R," corrected the man. "M-A-V-R-O." "Listen to me," muttered Tom fiercely. "R," said the policeman. "O, G." "G." He looked up as Tom's broad hand fell sharply on his shoulder. "What you want, fella?" "What happened? That's what I want to know." "Auto hit her. Instantly killed." "Instantly killed," repeated Tom, staring. "She ran out in the road. Son of a bitch didn't even stop his car." "There was 2 cars," said my Khalees. "One coming, one going, see?" "Going weird?" asked the policeman keenly. "One going each way. Well, His hand rose toward the blankets but stopped halfway and fell to his side. "She ran out there and the one coming from New York knocked right into her, going 30 or 40 miles an hour." "What's the name of this place here?" demanded the officer. "Hasn't got any name." A pale, well-dressed Negro stepped near. "It was a yellow car," he said. "Big yellow car. New." "See the accident?" asked the policeman. "No, but the car passed me down the road going faster than 40, going 50, 60. And guess what? I'm going to stop right here because it is too juicy. It took them like 120 pages in before it got really interesting. You know, if you are interested in collaborating and or having me review your product or service on my video, just let me know. Let's talk. Let's talk. I'm looking for sponsorships. And remember that you couldn't want it if it wasn't possible to get it. You could not want it if it was not possible to get it. Right? Hey, if you like what I'm doing here, like and subscribe. Donate to the channel. Catch me in the next video, and may you find lasting happiness. Bye.